Brace yourself.
I could start this video in a lot of ways, a lot of cliched ways, saying a lot of the same stuff that so many other YouTube content creators say when discussing the Sonic the Hedgehog series. I could talk about how far Sonic's fallen since the 90s, or I loved the Sonic games as a kid, and while both of those statements are true, I don't really want to discuss that. Sonic is such a punching bag these days that developing any nuance to the discussion is a rabbit hole I'd rather just pass over. It's an exhausting topic to talk about, yet here I am, addressing all of the cliches that I loathe. But I'm gonna cut the crap and just say that Sonic Mania is great. Fantastic even, a resounding success that I'll be revisiting well beyond 2017. But I'm not here to say that Sonic Mania is great. I'm here to say why it's great. Where did this sudden creative spark come from, and what can be done to make sure it doesn't burn itself out? What does Sonic Mania do to make us want more? As I said, Sonic Mania is awesome. From the stylish visual design to the intricately tiered level structure, Sonic Mania hits all of the right notes. It goes above and beyond the typical formulas that have existed within 2D Sonic games for the past 25 years, while managing to develop its own aesthetic and mechanical identity. All things considered, Sonic Mania is a ton of fun to play. But here's something that a lot of people seem to overlook when examining Sonic Mania critically. This is a fan game. A richly produced fan game that has Sega's official mark of approval, but a fan game nonetheless. And Sonic is no stranger to fan games, ranging from professional projects like Sonic After the Sequel to individual demos like Sonic Utopia, to whatever you can call something like Sonic.exe. It says a lot about the fanbase's eagerness to get involved in the series, along with the amount of creative confusion that the Sonic series has since endured for nearly 2 decades now. Sonic Mania is no different. It feels like a fan game. But don't mistake my use of the word fan game as a negative. Sonic Mania, as I said, is not a bad game. Far from it. This is one of the most invigorating and polished projects to bear the Sonic name in a long, long time. And I think this level of nuance and refreshment is directly tied to its role as a fan game. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start from square one. The game's introductory sequence features Sonic and Tails on their plane, rushing toward Angel Island, mirroring the opening cinematic of Sonic 3 and Knuckles. This time, though, Eggman is after the Phantom Ruby, which can bend space and time, which is a fine MacGuffin to transport Sonic and Tails to other timelines and locations. The intro is familiar, and intentionally so. Throwing things back to Sonic 3 and Knuckles, arguably the best Sonic game in history, is an appealing gesture and hits the nostalgia nerves just right. It's very fitting considering what kind of game Sonic Mania aims to be, and it never holds back with this mindset. Getting the player started in Green Hill Zone, Sonic Mania sends them throughout a mixture of old and new levels. The fan favorites like Chemical Plant Zone from Sonic 2 share the spotlight with a few totally original levels like Press Garden and Studiopolis. Though the amount of totally original stages is dwarfed by the remixed older stages, for better or worse. The picking and choosing of older Sonic stages might sound like a limiter for the devs' creativity, but I honestly found the reimagined classic stages to be even more impressive than the totally original zones, especially in the second acts. The amount of density in these stages is incredible, carefully constructing streamlined paths that mix and gel horizontally, while also scaling higher and lower in verticality. This is especially apparent in levels like Green Hill Zone, Studiopolis Zone, and Mirage Saloon Zone, where the game puts on a fantastic display of multi-tiered level architecture. Speed is not the focus in these moments, instead taking aim on winding paths and exploration-driven design. That's not to say Sonic Mania isn't about speed though, it'd be senseless to say otherwise. Sonic Mania is an adrenaline rush in every way. Levels are a total joy to run through, including the speed-focused zones like Chemical Plant, Stardust Speedway, and Titanic Monarch. The corkscrews, loops, and slopes all have that Sonic feel and addictive momentum that propels with natural force. It has some of the most intense level spectacle seen since Sonic CD, and combined with visual effects like character after images, it's just a blast to play. With all this in mind, Sonic Mania doesn't feel the same as any of Sonic's recent releases. There's a careful hand in Sonic Mania's inner workings. There's a level of contemplation and organization that hasn't been seen in a Sonic game, 2D or 3D, in quite a long time. Sonic Generations, a game that I still consider to be the best 3D Sonic game, doesn't play with precision. It accommodates speed first, causing much of its design to be driven by roller coaster stage construction and capitalizing on the opportunity to go fast and only go fast. It makes individual set pieces feel disjointed, where the links connecting each big moment are arbitrary. These moments of bursting speed are means to ends, rarely getting a level of consideration that you'd expect from any other kind of platformer. Sonic Mania, on the other hand, capitalizes on natural flow. Even relying on environmental features that were in the older levels, Mania gives the player the tools needed to stay in control, even when moving fast. Memorization is still a viable solution to getting to the goal quickly, but the barrier of entry doesn't feel nearly as high this time around. The introduction of the drop dash in particular keeps momentum even when falling downward, which was a speedrunner's nightmare for past Sonic games. Interestingly enough, Sonic Mania's dense level design and smooth flowing terrain feel remarkably accommodating for speedruns. It's about the fun of discovering a new route to trim off some time, along with the invigoration of navigating that route perfectly. From the slick slides of Oil Ocean to the gently sloping tunnels of Lava Reef, Sonic Mania's design accommodates propulsion without making the focus entirely on simple movement like with that of the Boost. It intends for the player to move quickly, but still retain a level of control. Instead of overpopulating the empty space with straightaways and pre-played loops, each moment is connected organically. Sonic Mania rewards the mentalities and skills of speedrunners, but still diversifies itself with creative level gimmicks for those not interested in speedrunning. This kind of approach clearly requires a large amount of understanding of Sonic level design. It demands knowledge and experience of navigating stages and pathways. It's a mentality that can only come from those who know the ins and outs of a level, where each route leads, where every secret is. This makes a lot of sense, in fact. Designers Christian Whitehead, Simon Thomley, and the developers on their team are clearly Sonic veterans. Whitehead in particular, creator of some of the most notable fan projects featuring Sonic, has likely played the Sonic games religiously, and with that dedication to the Sonic games of old, he knows how every good level flows together. He's done his research. The designers can then use that experience to create entirely new set pieces and level layouts, both in old and new stages. Really, the developers' roles as Sonic fans are more than likely what has contributed to their skill as proficient level designers in the series, and it shows by how well each level's components mesh together organically. Whitehead, Thomley, and their teams have set a very important precedent with Sonic Mania. They've shown that dedication to a video game series can lead to something more, that knowledge and experience earned by playing a series can, and should, be rewarded. Sonic Mania is clearly a fan game, but that ends up being its greatest source of polish. This is a game made by those who grew up with Sonic, those who spent hours and hours spinning through Green Hill Zone, those who totally understand what makes good physics, those who follow what drives character momentum. Essentially, those who get Sonic. And that's a kind of education that Sonic Team themselves seem to lack. While the original Sonic developers are spurting out random gimmicks and directions simply to see what could work, the Sonic Mania developers are looking at the series with unrivaled attentiveness. With the success of Sonic Mania, Sonic's future could very well be in the hands of the fans. And oddly enough, that's a comforting thought.